Welcome back to the channel. I trust that you're doing well. In this video, we'll be looking at the path to alt season. In the month of July, we saw Bitcoin dominance take a nice spill to the downside, which provided some much needed relief for the alt sector. Ethereum's been on a nice run lately and is coming up on a key resistance level. Of course, Ethereum is the king of alts, so we want to see if Ethereum can bust through some key resistance levels and have some downstream effects into the alt sector. We'll also be taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance as it seems to be putting in a bit of a bounce. Do we get a bit of a correction throughout the month of August, or can we see some continuation? We're going to get into all of that in this video, so if you like this kind of content, don't forget to leave me a like, hit subscribe for future content, and let's get into the video. And we're opening up a fresh new month with a little bit of red, a little bit of cooling off in the market, if you will. We can see Bitcoin down about 1.36% the last 7 days. We see XRP down about 2%. We can see Solana down 8% and BNB down 2% in the last 7 days. The overall market cap for crypto has decreased by 3.56%, bringing it down to 3.73 trillion. And we can see the 24-hour volume is actually up 19%, bringing the 24-hour volume up to 203 billion. And that's also leaving Bitcoin dominance at 61.2%, which we'll be taking a closer look at that in this video because Bitcoin dominance gives us a pretty good indicator as to where we're at with alt season. And if we quickly take the temperature of the sentiment in the room for the crypto space, we can see that we're opening up a new month with a neutral read of 57. If we look at the line chart over here, we do see that the greed got up to around a 71 read and has since cooled off as the market is just basically pausing and hesitating. And we're waiting to see, do we get a bit of a correction coming into August? Do we just see some sideways consolidation under some all-time highs for Bitcoin specifically? Remains to be seen. But either way, the market right now is just totally neutral. So if things get cooking to the upside, this indicator has plenty of room to run into the greedy zone. And if things begin to correct, we can keep an eye on this and to see how fearful that it gets. Because if things get really fearful here, but the structure of the market remains bullish, that could be an indicator that perhaps it's becoming a buying opportunity at that point in time. So never a bad idea to take the temperature of the room. But right now, things are just totally neutral at 57. And if we take a quick look at the alt season index, we can see things have cooled off to a 37 read. And of course, on the chart down below, anything below a 25 read on the y-axis is Bitcoin season, and anything above a 75 read on the y-axis is alt season. So as you can see, we're still closer to a Bitcoin season than we are to a frothy altcoin season. But we did tick up to about a 59, I think, recently. Yeah, we got up around a 59, and since just cooling off from there. And taking a closer look at Bitcoin dominance starting on a daily time frame. And we can see in the month of July that Bitcoin dominance did take a nice spill to the downside here. And to be fair, it is beginning to break structure on a daily time frame. When we look left, we can see the last obvious pivot was right here. And recently we got a lower low on Bitcoin dominance as opposed to back here. So to be fair, we are seeing a break of structure. Now, Bitcoin dominance does look like it's going to put in a bounce here. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a lower high. If Bitcoin dominance begins to grind its way to the upside, does it roll over producing a lower high as opposed to back here? If Bitcoin dominance does something like that, not only will it be breaking structure on a daily time frame, but a new structure will begin to emerge, which is a downtrend. And that will likely have downstream effects into the weekly time frame, which is a much more significant time frame. If we bring the weekly time frame in for Bitcoin dominance, we can see recently that Bitcoin dominance is putting in a test of the 55 exponential moving average. And that's another reason why I think we'll probably get a little bit of a bounce here. When you look left, you can see the last big obvious pivot on Bitcoin dominance on a weekly was simply a test of that 55. And if we look further left, you can see that Bitcoin dominance has been above that green 55 exponential moving average since 2023 and has only really put in one significant test of that 55, which was right back here. And now we're getting that second test here. So it's not a surprise to be getting a bit of a bounce. So what I'm going to be looking for is I'm going to be looking for potentially a lower high in the daily time frame. That would spill into some downstream effects into this weekly time frame. And then from a weekly perspective, the first thing I want to see is a break of this 55. If Bitcoin dominance starts to break that 55, that could very likely initiate a test of this major pivot down here. And of course, if we see Bitcoin dominance getting below this pivot back here, that's when things get extremely interesting for the alt sector. And that's likely when you're going to see that major alt season, if you will. So right now, Bitcoin dominance is putting in a pretty healthy test of that 55, is producing a little bit of a bounce in progress. Where does that bounce get to? Do we get that lower high? Does that spill into the weekly time frame? And then the first shot across the bow is going to be a break below that 55. So we'll continue to pay close attention to this. And starting out with Ethereum on a monthly time frame, we can see Ethereum just closed this beautiful lightsaber to the upside for the month of July. But we do see that this candle body closed slightly below these candle bodies right here on this pivot and below these ones as well. So basically what we got in July was an absolute rocket ship straight into resistance. And now we're seeing Ethereum open up the month of August with a little bit of profit taking and hesitation, but nothing unusual after such a strong move to the upside, basically going straight into resistance. And if we bring Ethereum into a weekly time frame, we can see Ethereum's had 5 green weekly candles in a row. So to see a little bit of profit taking right now and hesitation, especially under a very key level of resistance, is certainly not unusual. Now, if we look left, I've marked out this pivot right here with this purple box. So the bottom side of the purple box is coming in at 4,000. That marks up the candle bodies right here. And the top side of the purple box is marking these wicks right here. And that's coming in at 4,100. And that was the last time we saw sellers really step in and thrust Ethereum to the downside. So that is a pretty key level of resistance. And if Ethereum can get up above that, it's going to be looking great. And I do think that's what happens over time. I'm not concerned if that happens in August, September, October. Doesn't matter. The condition is that I want to see Ethereum breaking up above that purple box. If Ethereum is able to get above the purple box and start opening and closing candles up there, what that's going to be letting us know from a price action perspective, that whoever was present in the market back here and was selling it off is no longer present or simply out of ammunition. If that's accompanied by really nice volume down below, that'll be another key indicator that the market agrees that Ethereum should be trading at much higher price levels. So, if this turns into a little bit of a correction from August, or if Ethereum suddenly surprises us and starts shooting to the upside, one way or the other, don't really care. At the end of the day, I'm looking for it to break through that key resistance. Now, if this selling does turn into a bit of a correction for August, maybe into September, if that's what takes place, as long as Ethereum puts in a higher low as opposed to this pivot right back here, the structure of this price action recently will still look bullish. So if Ethereum comes down, drifts a little bit lower, curls around, as long as we get that higher low wherever that happens than back here, then the structure still remains bullish. And if we take a quick look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin, we can see Ethereum is coming into contact with that green 55 exponential moving average. And we're seeing a little bit of hesitation there, which isn't unusual. If you look left, you can see the 55 was found as resistance right back here. It was found as resistance here as well. So to see price just kind of hesitating there versus Bitcoin is not unusual, but we definitely want to see Ethereum get up above that 55, and more so, I'd like to see it get up above this horizontal line right here, coming in at 0.04 versus Bitcoin. And the reason being is because that's the last area we saw a fair bit of resistance that caused the next leg down for Ethereum versus Bitcoin. So Ethereum still does have its work cut out for it as far as its pairing is concerned against Bitcoin. So step one, want to see it get above that 55. Step 2, get it up above this horizontal right here. And then things will start to look a lot more interesting for Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And I would imagine at that point in time that Ethereum versus its dollar pairing would be doing quite well too. And that does it for this one, everyone. Thanks so much for coming by and checking out this video. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one. And until I do, have yourself a powerful day.